Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. Hello, hello. I am sitting back in my office after taking a break outside. The sun came out today, so just did some laps in my neighborhood to get moving, to get my body moving, to feel the blood flowing, to feel my heart pumping, because I had been sitting at my desk for too long and needed something else. Wanted to feel the grounding energy of the earth, feel the sun, feel the wind blowing, and it was good. But what do you do when you're finding yourself in circumstances that you never imagined? Maybe you are in an environment where there's more people in your space and your routines are out of whack. Maybe you're finding yourself at home and you're used to being out and interacting with a lot of people. Maybe you are on the front lines and it's freaky out there because people are doing things that you wish they weren't doing, and you want to keep doing what you're doing, but yet you're wondering if it's safe to do. I mean, there's so many questions, there's so much information, there's so much happening, and where is that energy? Where's that emotion? Where's that stuff gonna go? Because it's building up inside of us in ways that most of us have not experienced before. Now, I'm doing pretty good because I have been working from home for over a year. I closed my practice over a year ago and had to learn and recreate new routines and new behaviors and new patterns that were healthy and happy for me working from home, working from a home office, not seeing 30 to 50 or more people a day because of the work that I was doing. So I already went through trial and error. I already had a lot of breakdowns and a lot of going on. So I wanted to share with you today, sometimes, especially after if you're feeling that stress and that tension and stuff building up, you've got to give it an avenue for release. Because if you don't, it's going to come. And it's going to come in the form of a meltdown, a breakdown. And if you were, again, finding yourself in small spaces or smaller spaces with no other place to go because you've got people that you're living with, you've got to give yourself an avenue to get it out. And there are some do's and don'ts. For instance, I said to my wife, I'm going to do this live, and I'm going to get on there and I'm going to scream, and just let out my emotion. And at first I thought I would do it outside, and she was like, outside? And I thought, oh yeah, right? If I do it outside, I might scare the neighbors because, of course, they're home. So instead, I'm sitting here in my office and doing it in my office. And I'm not doing it as loud as I may have, because I don't want to blow out your eardrums as you're watching. So you got to be strategic in where you let out your emotion. And you want to have some respect and keep in mind, who are you sharing your space with? So it might not be all of a sudden you're going to scream and get all really loud if you don't warn the people that you're living with or that you're in the same space with. You want to give them a heads up. And maybe you want to even have them join in. Now, some of the other things, because I was pondering what other ways can you get those emotions out? Can you get that frustration, that stress out? Now, if you've watched any of my stuff, I'm usually out in the woods doing it in the woods. And because we're all home and the woods were a place that was still open, people here in Western North Carolina, where I live, were flocking there and not paying attention to social distancing. So crowds were showing up in our trails and in our forests. And as a result, they've actually closed some of them down. So that it's not as easy. I have to become more I have to become more strategic myself in being able to access some of the trails that I usually easily access. So today I found myself, we have a tiny little neighborhood, just 4 houses on our street, doing laps. Hey, Kel. Doing laps up and down the street with my wife because we took a break before doing this because we could feel our own tension starting to bubble up. We've been noticing it because even though I've been home working from home for the past year consistently each day, Cal, her job normally takes her out into the community, and while we do see each other and her job is flexible, or has been, it hasn't been a lot of time at home. So now we're finding ourselves, again, sharing a space for hours in a way that we haven't before. So we got out and got moving. She wanted a break. It was a great time for me to break. We went out and did some exercise. So exercise, of course, is one way. But you may need to, again, get creative because your usual avenues, whether it's the gym or for me with some of the hiking trails, they're not as easily accessed anymore. So you got to get creative. I've thought about it on, like yesterday was cold, it was kind of rainy, not kind of rainy, it was pouring. Thinking, I'm going to start doing sets of stairs. Hell, I used to do stairs when I played sports. As far as running and going up them to get exercise, I've got stairs in my house, and I can do stairs. So again, get creative. And of course, if you're watching this, feel free to say hello. Share your ideas for releasing emotions and getting out stress and tension. And I say releasing emotions because I know, hey Gail, I know there's tears that have been flowing. I've seen people's posts that they're crying, and there's, a lot of sadness and fear coming up and anger at the situation that we're finding ourselves in, and the way some companies and our government and things like that, different groups are handling it, individuals handling it, that there's also anger that's bubbling and ready to burst forth. So give yourself some ways to get it out. Now, I've got some ways here because I've been thinking about this and wondering about doing this. And of course, if you're a parent or an adult, get the other adults in your house on board. If you've got kids at home, get your kids on board because, hey, they're used to being away from you too. They're used to spending hours at school versus having to be with you for hours. So the anger and frustration and thoughts you're having, they're probably having too. So, of course, an easy one is a pillow. Maybe get a group pillow fight happening. Or if you just need it yourself, I've got my chair here, you bang the shit out of some stuff. Get that out. Get your heart pumping and let out those emotions. Of course, with exercising, I have my bolster here. This works really nice because it feels like a bat, Get that frustration out. And then I've got, what else do I have here? Some people are getting shipments in of stuff, and you are getting like these boxes. So instead of maybe nicely breaking them down to go into your recycling, you put them on the ground and you jump up and down on top of them, and you crush them. So that way, you're getting out some frustration. Maybe you start banging some stuff with it. Tear it apart. Let this anger out. And then, I love this one. Somebody's posting, Gail saying, baseball bat to a tree. I'm not so sure about that. I don't want anybody to hurt themselves. That's a don't. Don't hurt yourself in this. Another way, you could have, let me see if we can hear this, headbanging music, and, I almost fall. Let me turn this down. Let out your inner rock star and get into into some head banging, do some air guitar, whatever you can. Now, of course, one of the things that I have found when I engage in some of these activities to let out anger, to let out frustration, to let grief flow. Painting is another one. This painting I did by throwing the paint at the canvas because I was angry and pissed off. And it ended up being a picture that I love. And by the end of this activity, when I was painting and throwing paint, I was having a ball. And even with this, with the head banging and the jumping up and down on boxes and things like that, and even talking to my wife about it when I was giving her all these ideas, because I said, oh, join me in doing this, and she's kind of rolling her eyes thinking like, okay, you're nuts. You're nuts. But of course laughing because it's fun too. And now you probably can hear me starting to breathe heavy because I've been doing all of this stuff. The key is, don't stuff your emotions. Don't ignore these frustrations. Don't feel like you've got to hide them. You're a role model, especially if you've got kids or other people that you're living with. We support each other. We feed off of each other. If you're feeling frustration, there's probably somebody else who's feeling frustration. If you're feeling sad, there's probably somebody else who's feeling sad. Sometimes I put on movies because I know they're going to make me cry. And I know I have emotions to release. Or maybe, I'm done feeling sad. So I'm going to pull up some music. And let me find another choice here. I'm going to pull up some music that's going to get me feeling good. And I'm going to get doing, I don't know if you can hear that, Michael Franti, love him. And I'm going to get a spontaneous dance party going. You got to do what you got to do to take care of you. And again, you've got other people that are home, that are stuck in the same place with you. Give yourself a way to express anger, frustration, stress, anxiety, fear in a way that feels good when you're done. Now, journaling is another way, like write and just write. Whatever needs to come out. Give it an avenue to come out. But sometimes I can tell you, writing is too quiet. It's too sedentary. And sometimes I just need to feel it and let it out. So, what I want to know from you, I want to know, one, if you're willing to try some of this, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxiety, whatever you're feeling, if you're willing to try some of these things. And I want to know what else you got for me. What other ideas do you have with things that you have at home, that you have access to, that you and the others you live with can let out these emotions, can let out these, this anger, this frustration in a way that's healthy, that you don't get hurt, nobody else gets hurt, you're not scaring people to death because of all of a sudden they hear you scream at the top of your lungs. What are you doing? What can you do? I want to know what other ideas you got. Bring them on, give them to me. I want to know. And if you try some of these things, let me know how you're feeling. I want to know how it's going. I want to know how you are. And it's okay if maybe you started off positive and really strong going, okay, we're going to be okay in this. And now, as it's getting, it's prolonged and it keeps going, and maybe you've started to hear about people who are getting sick, people who have died, people that you know, or maybe a friend of a friend like somebody's gotten sick or maybe they've died and it's getting really close to home. So you're starting to notice that positive feeling you had is kind of going, and you don't know what to do with all of that. Give yourself permission to feel and express these emotions. It's important. Yes, it's great to have gratitude. It's great to come together in community. It's great to laugh. It's great to say thank you. That's all fabulous. I love when I'm seeing those things. But it's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be scared. Those are the other side of the coin. And if we're going to keep experiencing love and joy and happiness and gratitude, we've got to give ourselves permission to experience and feel those other emotions too, to give them an avenue to be expressed. So let me see. Gail's saying, I went back to painting. So she says it's time, but it was feeling too constrained. So it was time to step out of the box and go emotional on the canvas. Yes, go emotional on the canvas. You know, I've been painting and drawing. I just got back into it a little bit more than a year ago and was liking some of my stuff, not liking a lot of it. And one of my favorite paintings is this one, as I pointed out, that I did because I was angry and frustrated one day with trying to get some work done, and I was like, my head was spinning, the wheels were spinning, and nothing was getting accomplished. And I have it up behind me to remind me it's okay to express my emotions. It's okay for me to express my feelings. And I can end up enjoying it. It opens up space and pathways to actually enjoy what happens next. So again, if you're here, say hello. Let me know where you are. If you've got questions about this, if you want to know more about this, it's what I'm here for. So post them in the comments, send me a message, and let me know again how y'all are doing. And I want your ideas. I want your ideas. How do you let these emotions out, especially when you're in smaller spaces with more people and not your usual avenues for expressing it? Because we've got to get through this together. We're not going to get through it as well alone. We're just not. It's a time for community. It's a time for connection. So I want to know what's been working for you. Let me see. What else do we got here? Oh, Kel says hi. Hi, Kel. So again, I know I've seen people jump on and hang out and jump off. I don't know it's you. If we're not friends on Facebook, I don't know it's you. And so again, feel free to say hello. Feel free to share and let me know what you got. All right, everybody, I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to get back to doing some work now that I've let so much out. And I'm feeling motivated and reconnected and inspired to get back to my day. I'm sending you lots of love. Mwah. And of course, all things fucking fantastic till we connect again. Love y'all. Bye.